Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter, as well as those of you on YouTube. Happy Wednesday, January 14th, 3:15 p.m. Pacific Time. Another edition of Q&A with WAP. Yeah, anybody. I just started the stream 2 seconds ago. Sinner Rabbit. They will come. If you build it, they will come. No one has their notifications turned on for me still in 2026. You got to allow them the opportunity to see that this show is live. And we're starting to build a cadence of doing this regularly every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. See, now the chat's starting to join us. What's up, Noted Gang? Welcome in. Welcome back. What's up to MCC, Rondo, Shaden? Another day. It is gorgeous here in Southern California. 74 degrees. A couple of clouds in the sky, some slight haze, but a true beach day, which I have taken advantage of. Played some tennis yesterday, went to the beach today. Not bad for the middle of January. This is why we pay such high taxes and why people still live here, mainly because of the weather. What's up, Noted Gang? Yes, sir. Alex, good to see you. Hey, tell me when Vegan Barbie enters the chat, because she, at the end of Monday's episode, she asked me if I had seen the movie Begonia. Is that how I pronounce it? And I watched it, and that was a fucking trip. I should have seen the ending coming. I'm not going to spoil it, but that one, I watched it right before I went to bed too. So it's a sci-fi movie with twists and turns. It's got great acting. Emma Stone and the dude from Breaking Bad, whatever his real name is, someone in the chat can remind me. But I did watch that movie, and it was quite entertaining. It's also a movie that I will never need to watch again. I'll tell you that much. What is going on with the damn stream? It's a movie that I will never need to watch again. I'll tell you that much. Why am I frozen? What is going on with the damn stream? Am I frozen for anyone else? You guys can hear me. Why am I frozen? What is going on with the damn stream? Am I frozen for anybody? Heaven forbid, once again, the internet actually works. Why is it always something different? This shit has never been frozen before. It may lag, it may do some other shit, but it never just freezes. Should I give it a second before I start getting mad? Do some other shit, but it never just freezes. Okay, now it's back. Second before I start getting mad. What? Like, why can't anything ever just work? Why can't anything work? OBS sucks. Royal ass. Now StreamYard sucks ass. What are y'all doing to these products that they just never work? Why must you keep updating them? Why must every time I log into OBS, it's congratulations. Your software has been updated to edition 21.6.8.3. You're always doing shit, and it breaks something that was working before. And then the next patch is fixing it, which breaks something else. Fucking yay! Remember when Twitter Spaces was debuted for the first time? So I'm very thankful to the team at Twitter for including me in the beta release. That shit was so glitchy. I remember how mad I would get. Like the entire audience, when I was trying to do shows sometimes, would just completely disappear, and I'd be the only person in the entire room when I knew there were 10,000 listeners. I couldn't click, I couldn't see, I couldn't accept any of them, I couldn't bring them up to speak. It was just so fucking glitchy. It drove me nuts. Eventually, over time, they fixed some of that. Okay, Periscope, notorious Laggy P. Remember all the nicknames you gave to me for having a stream that just... Periscope, always laggy. Always. The television show Silicon Valley and how Pied Piper was supposed to solve these problems by condensing data so that you could have a much more efficient output and bandwidth. Why has that never happened? Now I'm all sorts of blurry on the screen now. So I can do one of two things. I can continue to just be blurry, or I can try and switch internets to the other one that kind of works. The hell? It's on brand, isn't it? Because everything that I do, especially on Twitter, it's filming television screens with my phone, so it looks like bootleg footage. My live streams are bootleg compared to these studio-looking YouTube channels. I might as well just keep running with this for the entirety of my content career. I should always be the guy that's broadcasting in 72 I'm sorry, not 1080p, 108p. Anyway, you know what I'll do here? I'll make myself a little smaller. Maybe that'll help out with, because take a look at this slate tonight in the NBA. Woof! Raptors, Pacers, Cavs, Sixers. So Cavs, Sixers tonight is probably the only game in the high 70s with a fun rating on ESPN, and they're showing you the same exact game on Friday on ESPN. Cavs at Sixers, as they have themselves a baseball series that isn't a back-to-back. What the fuck? Jazz, Bulls. Unless we're back in 1997, 1998, this is not a matchup that's getting anyone to drop what they're doing. Nets, Pelicans. Ooh. Nuggets, Mavericks, when the entire Nuggets team is listed questionable because they're on the second leg of a back-to-back. Oh, thank God, Kobe White news just dropped. Limited to 28 to 30 minutes tonight. Minutes restriction. Knicks and the Kings. Double 11-point favorites here on the screen for your Knicks over the Kings. And then Wizards, Clippers in the nightcap. Oh, my God. How the hell are we going to make it to the playoffs if this is the shit? Last night's slate, ridiculous. This, oh God. And I sound like Mr. Get Off My Lawn. But how am I supposed to get up for this slate tonight? How am I supposed to get up for this? I'm looking for a spot. That's how I get up for it. I'm looking for a spot in this Nuggets-Mavericks game that can take advantage of someone being out. So let's change the mood in the chat because I've done a lot of complaining thus far. This is a sicko slate to the max. Okay. So Peyton Watson, Helwick, I know you're in here. Now's the time to start spraying every Peyton Watson fact that you have discovered or the chat is interested in, because Peyton Watson right now, putting himself into the category of another Peyton, at least for the past week and a half, that once played professional sports in Denver. So Peyton Watson last night, because I don't have the box score in front of me, he ends up hitting like 2 game-sealing shots in the fourth. The Pelicans double-teaming Jamal Murray to get the ball out of his hands. But similar to what he's done in a lot of games recently, Peyton Watson is there to hit some big-time shots. And he's one of the more athletic guys above the rim. Like, where on earth did this come from? Which kind of just feeds into that whole narrative once again. That just because NBA players don't play doesn't mean they can't play. Just because Peyton Watson is getting up 5-6 shots per game before Nikola Jokic went down doesn't mean he's not worthy of his usage being increased. And you are seeing the result of that now, as this dude has been efficient as all hell in the last 8 games that I think they're 5-3 without Nikola Jokic out there. And it's not a 5-3 against the Jazz on a Tuesday, the Hornets on a Wednesday, and the Wizards on a Thursday. They were on an East Coast road trip where they went to Toronto and I think Miami and some other spots that they're still above 500 without Nikola Jokic. And it's because Jalen Pickett walks into Philadelphia. He drops 41 points. That same night, Peyton Watson had like 20 or 30 or something. Last night, he's going shot for shot with Jamal Murray on better efficiency It's a real thing now. Hillwick, what do you have on Peyton Watson? Western Conference Player of the Week. Nuggets just aren't missing a beat. Why would you rush Nikola Jokic back when the rest of the team is thriving and being able to build chemistry in a role that they may need if Jokic has to miss a playoff game, if he gets into foul trouble, if there's an ejection of some kind, knowing that these guys can step in and tap into the experience that they had in the beginning to middle of January is going to be essential when that moment of adversity raises its ugly head once again. Danny in the chat says Peyton Watson did off-season workouts with Paul George. Is that true, or are you making that up? Anyway, tonight, this game in Dallas, because they're on the second leg of a road back-to-back, I would anticipate some of these guys are going to sit. Is there anywhere right here? Jalen Pickett, I assume if some of these new starters for Denver sit, Jalen Pickett is going to get an increase in usage. There is no liquidity here whatsoever, Prophet X. We need some liquidity on Jalen Pickett. If you're watching, can you put some in the chat? Because I want to take his over 9.5, preferably. Danny says, yeah, PG said on his podcast. Oh, well, that would certainly explain Peyton Watson all of a sudden becoming an offensive hub. Steve says Watson created his own turnaround mid-range look last night for the win. That was an unfathomable concept last year. Wasn't he? He was getting the Josh Okogie treatment. He was getting the Jared Vanderbilt treatment, the Amen Thompson treatment. Guys that are the Russell Westbrook treatment, guys that are intentionally left open. Not anymore. That dude is knocked down. Where the hell did that come from? Also, players are allowed to improve and get better. They're not stuck with their reputation from their rookie seasons. And by the way, Antonio and I were having this conversation the other day. So current players in the NBA that have 5 years of experience or less. So they grew up with LeBron. They grew up with KD, Steph. Kyrie, a lot of people try to emulate their games after. And then we've rounded up by saying Paul George's influence on the younger generation. I think Paul George, I could put into the same category as Kevin Durant when it came to popularity in the 2010s. Not 2020s, 2010s. Paul George was his end of his Pacers tenure with the Pacers, easily one of the most popular players. And then his recovery from his horrifying leg injury on national television at a Team USA exhibition, and how he was able to return and make an impact there in Oklahoma City before going to the Clippers. He's got a story that a lot of people certainly relate to. What's up, Wayne? Wayne in the chat says, Wob, can we talk about how the I don't know what you're trying to say, NBNA plasters, or is that NBA players? JA all over the NBA Europe campaign. Oh, okay. Wait. Plasters jaw all over the. You're going to need to fix your typos, Wayne. I don't know what you're asking there. Rondo suggests Kawhi. I will, you know what? I am pretty adamant on saying Kawhi was not as popular for a longer period of time than Paul George was. Kawhi had a very, very rapid rise to being arguably the best two-way player in basketball in the year 2019. And he was getting really close with the Spurs before that trade. We're talking like 2-3 years of Kawhi being at the zenith. Paul George, man, had staying power for a while. with those Pacers teams and pre-injury. Like, he has his own Nike shoe. He moved merch. He was supposed to be the one that challenged LeBron in the Miami Heat for all those years. And he took that series to 7 games a couple of times. He looked like a worthy competitor against the best version of LeBron. Will Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Jalen Johnson have a better chance to WIP? What does that mean? Did you mean most improved player? What's with all the typos? Knowles, you got to tell me what you mean there. How the NBA, oh, okay. Wayne says how the NBA plasters Ja all over the Europe series for him just not to play. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, first of all, Ja Morant, you want to talk about someone that moves merch. You want to fast forward to the 2020s, as we just had that convo about Paul George potentially being even more popular than Kevin Durant for a period of time. I would say of new age players. So there's Ant, Wemby, Cooper, Ja, Zion. Trying to think, Luka, next generation. No one moves shoes like Ja Morant. No one moves the needle with the Gen Z, Gen Alpha like Ja Morant. He is their Derrick Rose. He is their Allen Iverson. The more controversy that follows him, the more and more his popularity grows. Because he is also magnifying that whole it's us versus them. If you're with me, you ride with me. Us. This is what Russell Westbrook did so well with his Why Not campaign, and why his fans are still out there in the battlefield taking shells in the trench for him, because they stand so hard for Russ. And those kids stand so hard for Ja Morant. He's got decent shoes. They move. He's popular. He sells jerseys. And he's being advertised for this NBA Berlin game when he's not even probably going to be on the floor. He's probably going to be traded. Giannis and Ja Morant are going to get traded, but there is also a world that they deal with this over the summer, because both of those guys are locked up under contract. With Trae Young, he's headed towards, the player option and everything. Anthony Davis is under contract as well. There is no sudden urgency that we got to get something for him now before he goes into UFA. So I'm not completely sold on, I think those players will be traded in the very foreseeable future, but that foreseeable future needs to be extended to July 1st. Helwick says that 2013 Heat series was electric. A 3 to tie it in game 1, and then he had the big-time poster dunk on Birdman. Mid-2010s Paul George was that dude. Almost beat the Heat a couple of times in that playoff series. Playoff series, plural. I'm going to go back. I'm going to make myself smaller because it's pissing me off how low quality this video is. Every time that I go to this, it gets better. Oh, yeah. So Ja Morant, I would say Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards are going to be the two guys who move the needle when it comes to marketing. It was supposed to be Zion, but that's over. I mean, there may have been some potential with RJ Barrett because he was in New York. That's obviously over. It never came to fruition. But it's Ant-Man. It's going to be Ant-Man and Ja Morant, I think, for this generation. And then I just don't know, because Luka's is with Jordan. No one ever served. The Jordan brand has such a low ceiling of mainstream potential, because the actual Jordan shoes of Michael Jordan's shoes are still the most popular shoes in the world. So all of these little sub brands with Tatum, with Zion, with Luka, Who else is I think that's where Russell Westbrook is too. Those shoes just never make it past a certain point. They never get the push that the original Jays do. Every time someone signs with Jordan, they're going to get a bag. They're going to be in a fraternity of stars. They're going to get access to MJ and his marketing machine, but they will never, ever be prioritized over the great one. I don't know, Logan, how old Paul George was. I just remember that injury was so traumatizing for me. I can tell you exactly where I was when it happened. It's just seeing his leg sticking out, his bone sticking out of his body like that. Oh my God, that was as bad as where in the was it Louisville versus Michigan game, national championship? Oh, I was sitting in West Hollywood at my kitchen table, and I just like cowered in the corner. It's something I'll never be able to unsee. Oh, that was so bad. Was that 20? No, it had to be a little later in 2013, right? Maybe it was. I don't know. No, it was like 20. It was before the Olympics, wasn't it? So it had to be a 2015, 2016 injury. August 2014. Oh, wow. Okay. I was somewhat close. Oh, what was with people's fascination of posting gruesome, gory injuries on Twitter back then? Everyone would put that shit on the timeline. Couldn't avoid it. Oh my God, what's wrong with people? I would actually go back to that Twitter in a heartbeat versus this one. I'm willing to deal with the broken bones. We didn't know how good we had it. That was the days of crying Jordan. Logan says, I still remember the same season he came back. He did that in-game 360 windmill with a steel rod in his leg. You want to know why Paul George is so popular, or at least was? Moments like that. Moments like that. And then he ended up, part of his, downfall, because let's remember how the internet works. And, it applies to me in the NBA media landscape. People gravitate towards like the next thing. They build it up. And then again, not just me, this is in the world in totality. They find something, they build it up, and then they want to burn it to the ground and then watch the comeback story. It's just a perpetual cycle over and over again. See, look at this. Look at the quality of this fucking stream. Whenever I go wide like this, why does this keep happening? All right, I'm going back to Prophet X. You're going to get a lot more ad time today. Yeah, they like to build things up so that they can tear them down. It's just a natural human attitude, at least on social media and the internet. So Paul George is the guy who's going to be responsible for dethroning the biggest villain in professional sports in LeBron James when he was with the Miami Heat. He was so close. He was so good. He had so much potential. He had a devastating injury. He had a great story on his comeback. And then he ends up going to Oklahoma City and joining Russell Westbrook. When Damian Lillard waved bye to him, when this happened, and Paul George in his post-game press conference was like, that's a bad shot. That's a bad shot. It's funny how it's just instantly turned on him from that point forward, that he was no longer this beloved star. There was a reason to dislike him because it felt like he was discrediting Dame's moment of brilliance because he's the one now who was on the rise to topple Paul George in Oklahoma City. You see what I mean by the cycle, just the circle of life. And then Paul George goes to the Clippers. They're extremely unlikable. They end up blowing multiple 3-1 leads, one in the bubble. It's Paul George way off the backboard. And now he's the punchline on a lot of jokes. He has this podcast that's makes him even more unlikable. Whatever. Yeah. Paul George was a bona fide MVP candidate. You can be an MVP candidate and come in like 6th or 7th place. Last time I checked, doesn't the MVP award 1st through 10th with a point system? If you fall anywhere in the top 10, you're an MVP candidate. You're not an MVP winner, but you're an MVP candidate. And Paul George was there for quite some time. Oh, okay, good point, Helwick. Steve says the second you request a trade and build bad blood with a fan base, you go from hero to villain. The Pacers fans still don't care for him. That's a fact. And he was not as careful as Giannis is currently being with his maneuvering of getting out of Milwaukee. Right? Giannis is trying to show that I care so much about you, the fans, and playing for the Bucks that I'm going to be on my ass booing you back when we're down by 30 because I'm exerting this level of effort and I want to win with the Bucks. But if my agency and my managers maneuver me to be traded somewhere else, like it's not something I wanted. It's just something that happened. Like that's the PR that he has been able, I think, successfully to convince not just Bucks fans, but NBA fans in general of his current mindset. Therefore, you can't get mad at me. I'm playing hard. I'm showing up. I care about the fans, and I don't want to be traded. He's said all of these things while we know the business behind the scenes is almost the complete opposite. Paul George was like, I'm done here. I'm done here. He was not as adamant on staying in Indiana, whether it was because LeBron was still in Miami, get me to the West. I can go pair up with Westbrook. I need some help. Look at all I got here is Roy Hibbert and George Hill. He didn't say that out loud, but he certainly implied it. Well, did I just freeze again? I'm here. Did I just freeze again? I'm frozen. Okay, now I'm back. Wayne says PG-13 was the smoothest operator in the league for years. He had, maybe that's part of the reason why so many kids were attracted to his style of play and how fluid and smooth his game was. It really, those crossovers and step backs and the way he just kind of floated through the air when he initiated rim warfare and violence. Carly says Sean Livingston still haunts me. Yeah, some brutal injuries in basketball. I can handle a lot of things. I could almost deal with seeing a dead body that is still like a dead body that is whole. But if I see a human with a broken bone and alive, that would bother me so much more than a dead body. Ugh. Sean Livingston. Ugh, it's giving me the fucking goosebumps thinking about some of these injuries. Let's get this out of my head. Logan says that Giannis will say he didn't ask for a trade because he technically request. Yeah. I don't think, even if, by the way, even if Giannis said, I don't want to play in Milwaukee anymore, it would, Bucks fans would be like, oh, that's too bad. But this man won you a championship. He won you a championship. Mission accomplished. Even if he wanted to say that, which he hasn't, I still feel like he would be within his rights. The unwritten rules of demanding a trade as a star player, one of the prerequisites is, have you gotten to the finish line? MCC says, never forget Roy Hibbert's Area 55 fan section. The original Jackals. Oh, you want to get me going? You guys have learned by now. I enjoy nothing more than complaining about stuff. But when I have a justifiable reason to do it. So the devolving of NBA Twitter and how many, I think it's more of just an age thing. How many people run these accounts where they are looking to, with their captions are obviously rage baiting, but the inaccuracies are designed to take advantage of people that aren't willing to do their own research, don't have an education with the NBA or an effort for reading comprehension. What I'm alluding to is OKC has been banging a drum to get their fans going before games for what? 2 decades? 2 decades? They did not steal banging a drum that the Jackals in San Antonio now do for their clap that we've seen across all of Europe and soccer, and the Minnesota Vikings have done it as well. Like, no one is stealing from anybody. But some of these accounts got millions and millions of views because they thought the Thunder were mocking what the Jackals in San Antonio did by banging the drum, and they're, being petty. And I'm like, y'all understand, like, when I did Petty Wars back in the 2010s, first of all, everyone understood that it was a bit and it was a joke and we were making light of a situation. No one was actually believing that to be serious. That didn't need to be explained. It was just assumed because the world was different back then. That is not the case anymore. One of my most, and now I'm being a little hypocritical because there are certainly times where I see something like, oh, I know this is going to really rile up the internet. And there was one in particular that I did with the Orlando Magic. They do a kiss cam every game, and everyone does a kiss cam, right? But at the end of it, they have this pre-recorded skit with someone that works in their game ops department where they're wearing the opposing team's jersey and they're sitting by themselves and they don't have anybody to kiss. And it's obviously meant to, like, oh, look at this away fan. This is what you get for rooting for the Brooklyn Nets, right? And then they play the song, all by myself. Like, they've been doing that forever. And then when I put out a video, I knew exactly what I was doing, but also I am cognizant of, because I watch League Pass every day for the last, 15 years. You see the same skit over and over again. And I'm like, oh, they put this kid on blast. And then it's interpreted literally by millions of people when I'd say only 5 to 10% of the people in the comments recognized, one, that I knew what was going on. 2, that this is a recurring skit with the Orlando Magic. And it's just you can no longer create content nowadays without explaining context to a point that is exhausting and just honestly isn't even worth it. Sorry. I've been yapping. The chat's moved on without me. I don't blame you guys. Steve says, I won't let people forget that prime Roy Hibbert was a force. He was. Remember his block on Carmelo Anthony? He had people debating the Heat needed a real center. If there was anywhere to expose him, it was Birdman and Joel Anthony, because Roy Hibbert was a force. Danny Granger, there's a name I haven't seen in a minute. Man, he filled up the box score once upon a time. Wayne says, I feel like the league is shifting. OGs like Dame, Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi are taking a backseat to Youngblood. Yeah, that's just a product of father time. I mean, those guys are still hooping, though. Harden and Kawhi have been great. And Dame's going to return at some point in Portland. That'll be fun. Hopefully he's not headed down a route of like Victor Oladipo. Westbrook is, as long as he plays for the Kings, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Jacob in the chat says, hey, Rob, have we covered Peyton Watson yet? Him, Jamal, THJ, and Pickett been carrying during all these injuries. It's great to see. We did at the very top of the show. So just running the risk of repeating myself, perhaps just rewind a little bit. But yes, we have saluted Peyton Watson with multiple game-sealing shots, not just against the Pelicans during an East Coast road trip. You had Jamal Murray's homecoming game in Toronto. You got Jalen Pickett game in Philadelphia. This team is winning games when they most certainly shouldn't. Oh, and that Philadelphia game, thankfully, I'm CLV sober, as you see on the screen here. There's plenty of opportunities where I could recommend a guy being out. For example, Denver tonight. If we scroll down to this here on ProfitX, Denver versus Dallas. What's this at? They've got Dallas as 2.5-point favorites. If you are someone who thinks the Nuggets are going to be sitting a majority of their guys who are all listed as game time decisions, this line is going to jump from 2.5 up to Dallas -5. Now, that's not as big of a CLV spot, for example, when they went to Philadelphia and the whole team sat and they closed as 16-point underdogs. That is a CLV difference of roughly 7 points. I'm going to assume that the Sixers were like 9.5 to 10.5-point favorites. Not only did the Nuggets win that game straight up, or not only did they win that game against the spread and the original spread, they won it straight up too. That is now 0 for 7. I have documented each time this season when there's been a CLV spot in the NBA north of 5 to 6 points. Every single time that team has covered both spreads, the closing, the original, and won the game straight up as massive underdogs when the whole world was betting against them. 0 for 7. And I would have gone broke yet again if I was still betting CLV. That would have been a gargantuan size bet if I beat that line by 6-7 points. Now, you can always play a middle. So if you do beat the line, and let's say you got Philly -9.5 that night, then you come back on Denver +16 and you create a 7-point middle where you can win both of your bets. But if that doesn't hit, then you obviously are going to lose the juice. Here on ProfitX is where it's at its best, -104, -103. It's not too bad. Thank you for listening. Would you guys like me? You have watched enough of these episodes now to know the CLV spots this season. I'll give you a couple of hints. Ryan Rollins against Golden State. Ryan Rollins coming out party. Nick Smith Jr. in Portland for the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, there's more. There's just 2. A guy named Dennis Jenkins, the Detroit Pistons beating the Chicago Bulls when they only dressed 7 guys running Dennis Jenkins B-ball Paul Reed pick and rolls for 2 hours. I've been on every single one of them. The Heat brought in Greg Oden to try and stop Roy Hibbert, and it did not go well, says Alex in the chat. Forgot about that. Greg Oden. There's a name. Logan, too, says, I remember when Greg Oden started for the Heat. Was it one of those, he played 4 minutes and just never went back in type of box scores? Helwick says, with Berlin this week, what global games have you been to? Yes. I haven't been to Mexico City. I'd say that's probably the second most popular one now. Mexico City. I've been to Paris, the Paris games. I've spoken on my experience there, man. It is hard work. It is hard work. Any of you watching this in Western Europe, how late the games run there, and then having to do a 9 to 5 the next day. I am really good at powering through sleep-deprived work weeks because I'm a poker player and I'm used to like 18-hour shifts sometimes that you just stay up for 2 full days. I've trained my body without even needing performance-enhancing drugs to be able to get through stuff like that. And a week of watching NBA in Paris was as close to my body breaking as it gets. Danny, did you just look up Dennis Jenkins, Paul Reed points per pick and roll, points per play? 1.02? Is that a fact, or did you make that up? Well, guess what? Against the Chicago Bulls, it was twice that. Wayne says Ryan Rollins is more impressive than his stats look. Yeah, no, he's, especially without Giannis, he fills it up. He's good. Steve says that Bam Adebayo performance last night was long overdue. 13 straight, 3 straight threes. Now Heat number 2 all-time scorer. He's the Heat's number 2 all-time scorer? Mr. Bam Adebayo, because there is no O. Remember when Shep used to say that shit during Radio Roulette? He's the franchise's second leading scorer? Wait, Wade's got to be first. You're telling me Tim Hardaway Jr.? Tim Hardaway Sr.? Tim Hardaway Sr. Who else? Well, LeBron was only there for a couple of years. Bosh? I guess that makes sense. Alonzo Mourning? Yeah, Alonzo Mourning's got to be second. Jamal Mashburn? Oh, he passed Alonzo, says Alex. Logan says Wade's at 20,000, Bam's at 9. Alonzo Mourning's third, LeBron's fifth with 8. Okay. Where's Jamal Mashburn on that list? Well, I guess Jamal did a lot of his damage with Dallas. Do I reckon AD will play again this season? What do I think of Shams AD stuff? Oh, someone got info from the wrong source there. Something tells me his info, it comes from Clutch. So he probably just didn't, maybe it was a recommendation from Clutch, and that's why he corrected it. It's pretty rare for someone that's that connected to get that report wrong. And then you got Anthony Davis all pissed off on Twitter. And then Mark Stein followed on. Mark Stein's super plugged in with the Mavs that he's going to not get surgery and could be back in March. I think that honestly was just an instance of not vetting that information through every single source and just assuming the guy who feeds me all of this correct info was correct. It was right again. Oh, Hellwood's got the full list. Oh, I would have said Udonis Haslem. So Wade, number 1. This is all-time scores in Miami Heat franchise history. Wade, Bam, Mourning, Glenn Rice, let's go, number 4. LeBron, number 5. Tyler Hero, number 6. Bosh, 7. Seekley, 8. Butler, 9. Haslem, 10. The only surprise to me is Udonis Haslem's not higher because of playing nearly 2 decades with the same franchise. Nothing else really surprises me. I didn't know Glenn Rice scored that many points. Hardaway and Mashburn aren't even in the top 10. I'm such a 90s nostalgia merchant. Like, those 2 guys in the 90s just never stopped. Where's Vashawn Leonard at? Thunder Dan Marley. All those Miami Heat players. P.J. Brown. Mashburn is 25th. Wow. What's my most memorable poker experience? I don't think he would mind if I've played with Joel Embiid before. I'd say that's up there. He was just chilling, though. It was off season. It was a home game. If you're asking for memorable, I would say that's the most memorable player I've played against. I've had memorable hands and memorable moments, something like crazy suck out, but I'd say that was the most memorable home game I've played in, yeah. Logan says, I don't care what anyone says. Rich Paul talking about trading Reeves and stuff feels so crazy. Max Kellerman must love this shit. I'm sure Bill Simmons loves this shit too. Because one, this is bringing down the Lakers. He's the biggest Celtics fan on the planet. Maybe this whole time, the design of this show was to create problems for the Lakers. Because you got the head of Clutch Sports out there just talking about deals in public. And there was always going to be one of two problems with this show. Rich Paul, because of his position, says nothing of interest, because why would he? You can't tell any stories. You can't reveal people's business. What would you have to say that anyone would ever care about? And if you do say something that they care about, then you lose because you're the agent who is spilling tea and making people's private business public. That's an even worse look, in my opinion. So you're never going to be able to win. And then Kellerman's his job is to put Rich Paul in a spot that Rich Paul can continuously go viral with stories. That's what a good host does, especially one that did not play in the NBA or can provide similar experience. Now, if you were interviewing Max Kellerman about sports media industry, like, he would be the one who is sharing all of that information and insight, but he knows his spot perfectly. This is the dynamic that I have to pivot to when hosting a show with Antonio Daniels, because he has so many great stories and moments that he can recall and apply towards something in today's game. Can I provide a quick example from today's show? So we were discussing how the Oklahoma City Thunder have been defending Victor Wembanyama with J-Dub fronting, or three-quarters fronting Wemby, so that he can't receive the ball at the nail in the free throw line. They want him receiving it in the coffin corner. They also do this with Alex Caruso and Nikola Jokic. And then this ultimately resulted in a conversation about two things. One, gravity, but also elevation from a guy like Wemby. If he receives the ball in the spot that he wants and he's able to turn and face unbothered. And I put this on the timeline last night, but Kenrich Williams is 6'7". He's a power forward. And he was looking at Victor Wembanyama's belt when he was able to get up a shot. Like, not even the ball is 4.5 feet above his head. I'm not jumping and I'm not even putting my hands up because that's a waste of time. And Antonio recalled a story of when he guarded Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, were the two guys that anytime that he got switched on to them. Now, Antonio Daniels was a leaper, like a dunk machine. He could jump. And he said, guarding those two specifically, if you let them get into rhythm, their jump shot was a true jump shot, meaning they jumped. It wasn't a set shot, but they gathered and exploded off of the floor so high that he can recall putting his hand up, and Kobe Bryant was so high, he looked down and like smiled at him. Like, what do you think you're doing raising your hand? I have an unobstructed view of the rim. Those two were able to jump so high that they could create space between a defender's contention and the release point of the shot above their head. And then that also leads to a conversation of gravity, because gravity is now an official stat on NBA.com. It's an advanced analytic. And we were having a convo about how to quantify all of this. And because Antonio Daniels played with Ray Allen in Seattle, that was one of the original true gravity guys. First, it was like Reggie Miller with the Pacers, Ray Allen with the Sonics. Now, of course, Steph Curry. And when I say gravity guys, someone that's running around the floor and has everyone's attention as they're in the corner, making a huge loop because you know he's eventually going to go find the ball off of some pin down screen. You always had to keep an eye on where Ray Allen is on the floor so that he doesn't get the slightest glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes it's enough for him to just get up a wide open shot, or at least he feels is a wide open shot. So the gravity Ray Allen's presence was creating found Antonio to be open many times because they were busy dealing with him. How much does the media affect a player's trade value? Not very much. None of these front office guys are listening to Radio Roulette or Bill Simmons' podcast. I'm like, oh, well, he said that he'd only trade him for that, so therefore we should probably accept this deal. No. My least favorite, big wig media guy. It doesn't serve me much better. I know who my answer is. It's probably one of two, but I'm not trying to. Someone will just clip this and record it and think I said that like unsolicited. It's not worth it. Honestly, I can do shows too with people I don't like, as long as they are professional on air. Two good talent will be able to create a show. It may not have chemistry, but you're able to get to the finish line with a product that everyone's happy with. But a lot of these shows nowadays just come down to chemistry. The topic may not even be that interesting, but two hosts that are able to or can find a way to make anything attractive content. Yeah, you're going to have to make the bait a lot more. I've been in this too long, Wayne. I'm not going to fall for low-hanging fruit like that. I'm not the banana in the tailpipe. None of the, I mean, even the people that I don't like, I don't pay them any attention. So they don't bother me at all. And maybe they would have bothered me like 10 years ago, but when you get to this age, you kind of just stop giving a shit, honestly. Apathy is a superpower, man. You have that to look forward to as you guys get older in the chat. The one benefit of getting older is your apathy increases with pretty much everything on the planet. Not just your own personal social media beefs. It is nice to watch your enemies fail as much as it is to watch your friends and family succeed, but you just stop caring about that, like eating up a big portion of your day. Sean says that the Hawks and Raptors are the two teams with the most interest in Anthony Davis, and I just do not care anymore about where Anthony Davis goes. He just is never going to be able to stay on the floor again. Danny says, I'm turning 32 and I don't care about anything. You get it. It was right around 32. I'd say I felt the same. 32, 33 is when it starts to turn. I know, Carly, are you still lurking in the chat? I'm so sad we didn't get Vegan Barbie. Vegan Barbie, if you're somehow watching this on replay, I wanted to talk about Begonia with you. I know Carly is starting to turn into a little bit of a grump naturally. Yes. Value your time as you get older. That happens as well. Did I freeze again? God damn it. Well, you're just going to have to hear me preach with my frozen face. It's only appropriate. Yes. When you have something enjoyable, you value it a lot more when you're older. Kind of just live in the moment because you don't feel the need to compare yourself to the rest of society. You don't feel the need to live up to certain standards. You kind of just do what makes you happy naturally. I think that happens with a lot of people. It's not to say that's what you have to do, but I'd say it's more and more common. Everyone, yeah. Wait, Alex wants what's my Marty Supreme take? It was as chaotic as Uncut Gems. Chalamet's worthy of Best Actor for sure at the Oscars. Thoroughly entertaining, great story. I love the underlying message of desperation and someone with a goal that is willing to sacrifice any sort of relationship or tangible good to achieve it. And Gwyneth Paltrow, she's hot. All the above. Yes, come on, Hellwick. Everyone's got ops somewhere. Yeah, one battle after another is going to win everything. It's one of those political movies that the Academy's really going to love. Obviously, the Hollywood Foreign Press did too. Are there games on? Is it game time? Well, ESPN games don't start until the 15th, so we still got 3 minutes there. And I think the Raptors and Pacers just tipped off. FR double in the chat says, I'm at the gym listening. Don't yell. I caught you mid-set. I'm sorry. Well, what was I mad about? Oh, the freezing. Sorry. I will do this show in the future, cognizant of people listening in their pocket as they lift extremely heavy dumbbells or free weights. Appreciate you tuning in, though. FRW. Well, we do this show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from roughly 3:15 p.m. Pacific to 4:15 p.m. Pacific. And we are coming up on that hour right now. So hopefully something happens. Even though I do enjoy these shows the most. These are the best shows when I do Sirius XM. These are the best shows when I don't have any agenda or obvious talking point and we kind of just make something out of nothing. Those are the cold open type shows. If they could somehow find a way to take cold opens and put them onto air, it would be the most popular show in sports television history. Problem is they can't do that because most of what's said during cold opens is when the red light isn't on yet and people are saying those things within confidence and they're vaulted. So if someone can find a way to create a show around cold opens, I think that would be quite successful. Stevie Ray in the chat, what's happening, says, quick shout out. Thank you for the daily NBA schedule post. It has saved me many times. Oh, yeah, because I'm actually taking the time to go through like the players that are in and out so that you know who to bet, who to potentially put onto your Profit X cards and stuff like that. But today I just couldn't muster the energy to try and sell a product which is going to stink, and this slate stinks. But yes, for the most part, I will continue to publish those things, and thank you for continuing to engage. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting a like button or a retweet button on your way out, that always helps. Profit X appreciates it. And this Hellwick, are you back in the gym with your injury? Are you back up and walking? Or are you you're talking about just lifting weights, maybe upper body only? Yeah, this is meant to be just a Q&A chill session. So many streaming services, I usually never know where to go. That's part of the reason why content is so difficult to not only attract audience, like people are fractured. YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, everyone's got 50 different services, Twitter. There used to be a day where it was just Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and that was it. That was it. YouTube was barely a thing. Tumblr was much bigger than YouTube was for many, many years. My oyster, I'm sorry that you just joined the hello to you, but you just joined the chat when we're going to be signing off here. I should check out the other movies from the Begonia director. I'm a little scared to, because that movie was fucked. I'm not going to yell because my screen is frozen. Because someone may be lifting in the background. So I'm going to politely say good night and goodbye. Helwick says, I do PT twice a week. Upper body getting there. Can't run or jump yet. Jeez, that's pretty significant injury. So hope you're feeling better. You got it, Wayne. We'll be back on Friday to continue these informal lives and interactions. Maybe I'll be unfrozen then. I feel like I'm in the Han Solo gets the carbonite. I'm stuck in carbonite of StreamYard right now in Twitter. GG's in the chat. I will see you guys on Friday. Adios.